Welcome back, guys. In this video we're going to get the image that we just sent to our Firebase and put it in our image view. Before I do that though, we'll brush up the code that we just wrote a little bit. So right now what I'm doing is I'm using a toast in my handle crop method to show the user that they've successfully sent the image or that there was an error. Rather than this, I'd like to use a progress dialog because it's more professional. It'll show them that something is actually happening instead of them staring at a blank screen, at a screen before the toast shows up. So private progress dialog, image progress is what I'll call it. And before I move on from here, let's make all of these private just for the sake of consistency. And also I'm going to get rid of this variable pick. As you remember, this was for the example I had earlier for how to go into your phone storage using an intent. Okay, so private progress dialog image progress, and we could initialize it within our own create, but it's only going to be used once the image has been selected. And once the image has been selected, the method that runs is on activity result, and within that the method that we created was handle crop. So let's initialize it inside of handle crop. So image progress is equals to new progress dialog, and it takes in context. Then we can give it a title. Uploading image. We'll give it a message. Please wait. And we will use a method called set cancelled on touch outside to false so that they can't remove it by touching the outside of it. And finally we're going to show it. Oops, nope. Show. Okay. Now, if the task is successful, for now let's just leave that blank. We'll get back to that. That's where we do the fetching of the image. And if it's unsuccessful, what we'll do is we'll just dismiss the dialog. We'll still show this toast, and then we'll say image dot dismiss. Okay, then scroll back. So the next thing we want to do is to put the image into the database, our Firebase database. We've put it in our storage, now we need to put it in the database. To be clear though, we aren't putting the whole file. Let's close this. We'll go to database. We have this field for image, and for now it says default. So we of course don't want to put the image itself in this field. We could though, there are ways to do that. We could turn it into a blob, for example, and then save that here, but that's too much work. Instead, what we want is the link to this image. So let's see how we can get that. Back to Android Studio. What we need to do is create a string variable. Let's call it image link. And this, by the way, is within the if the uploading task is successful. So we're within the put file method, within its add on complete listener. If it's successful, we'll create a string called image link, and it's equal to the task dot get result dot get download URL, exactly what we want. And now this will give us a URL which isn't a string. If we were to do that, we'd get an error. We need to turn it to a string by saying .toString. So this is the link, this is the URL for the image, and that's what we'll put in our database. And to put it in our database, we can simply use, I'm sure we have a database reference. we do, here it is. Let's take a look at that. Control and click. Root is equals to that. So I'm sure somewhere here we've used it. Yes, here we are, userdb. So let's go to where userdb is created. So yes, final database reference userdb is equals to root.childusers.childuid. So already we have a database reference that is pointing to our particular user. So all we need to do is say .child and go to the image itself, the image field itself. Okay, so userdb, it's giving me an error, which means it's not a global field. So it's giving me an error because the userdb variable is local to, where is it? Is local to this, to whatever method is inside right now, and it's inside the onCreate, I believe. Yes, so it's local to the onCreate, which means it can't be seen by this other method that's trying to use it. But that's fine. We'll just go ahead and use the root variable, which means we'll have to create our own. So database reference userref. I'll just you can still call it userdb, but for the sake of making it easier to read, I'll call mine userref, and I'll say is equals to root dot, and in this case I can just copy, no need to give myself too much work. So it's the exact same. Copy that, take it back down. Okay, so userref dot child image dot set value, and we're setting the value of image link, right? And with just that, we'll be able to send the image link to the database. So I'm going to test this, and of course I'm sure you guys know what's coming next. We have to add an onComplete listener for what we just created. As this is building, we can go ahead and start on that onComplete listener, although of course it won't work yet because it's already started compiling what's there. So we're here, dot add onComplete listener, new onComplete listener. We'll just keep that like that and test as it is. Alright, there it is. So settings, and once again we'll set an image. This time though, instead of looking at Android Studio in the background, let's immediately switch to that. Gallery, select that image. I can see the progress dialog is working, that's good. And there in the background, there we go, we see the image has been updated and it has this link instead. So in fact, let's copy this URL and see what it gives us. I'm going to copy this, and if I paste it in my browser, it takes me to that image that I just uploaded. So we can now use this to go into the browser and, sorry, not to go into the browser, to go into Firebase and get the image, which we'll then put into the URL. So let's do that in the next video so that this doesn't run too long.